A show that tackles the big issues affecting the BVI and the rest of the Caribbean. Searches for answers to today's big questions and gives viewers a unique perspective on developing stories. Follow the big story with me, Kathy Richards, only on JTV. This show is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Cyril B. Ramney Tertola Pier Park, NV Salon Spa Nail and Barbershop, the Wellness Center, Medical and Behavioral Health Clinics, Ticely Cross Deliciously Smooth Cider, HOV Medical and Digicel, simply more speed, reliability and entertainment. Welcome to The Big Story. I'm Kathy Richards. I want to thank you so much for joining us for today's edition. With me is Dr. Allison Flax Archer. I want to welcome you to The Big Story. You wear so many hats today. You're here in the capacity as you're under the portfolio of the Rotary Club of Sunrise, but more so the District Peace Fellowship Chairperson. You are also with UNESCO for quite some years, and we'll establish the marriage between the two as we discourse. Welcome.
Sure. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, before we go, how have you been?
I've been okay. Thank you for asking. What about yourself?
Doing great as
Yes,
always.
yes.
Doing great,
Yes.
rising above the tides. Let's talk a little bit about there is a marriage between the Peace Fellowship that you wear the badge today of Rotary, and this
Yes.
where you represent,
Yes.
but it also has a direct link to what you do with UNESCO. Let's talk a little bit about that first.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kathy. It's really just ironic that there is actually a marriage between the organization that I work for, which is UNESCO, and Rotary, and the hat that I wear as the Rotary Peace Fellowship Chair for the District 7020, of which all the Rotary clubs in the British Virgin Islands falls. UNESCO is an organization that was birthed from the wars, and it was established in 1945 after the wars, and it was an organization established for peace, to promote peace. So with regards to the marriage, a lot of the work that I do at UNESCO tends to be linked to a lot of UNESCO days, which are linked to peace. With regards to the district Peace Fellowship programs, which are obviously Rotary, I find that it's extremely easy for me to carry out the work as it relates to the organization, because I'm already so deeply rooted as it relates to UNESCO.
Okay.
Yeah.
So explain to us,
Yeah.
what is a Peace Fellowship?
Okay, so the Peace Fellowship Program is a program that Rotary International started in 2002. So it's been around for about 20 to 21 years, where they are encouraging persons to enroll in universities, or as Rotary would call it, they are peace centers. There are 7 throughout the world that offer the master's degree program, and they also offer a certificate degree program. So every year, Rotary enrolls about 50 persons in the master's degree program, and then there are 10 per certificate program. Once again, there are 7 peace centers throughout the world, and they're not centers that are called the Rotary University, but there's a partnership between Rotary and universities. So we have universities. The most recent one is in Uganda. We have universities that are a part of the what we are trying to achieve. In Australia, we have organizations in Thailand, the United States, and Japan. So there are quite a few places that have programs.
These numbers of persons that you say Rotary enroll every year, are there specific numbers per country? Let's say for the British Virgin Islands, is there a limited amount of persons that we enroll?
No, well, I'll tell you what, we actually have not had any persons from the British Virgin Islands be successful at the program because they haven't been applying.
And I guess because most persons may not have
they may not know about the program, but definitely I believe that Rotarians should be advocates for sharing the information. Rotarians really should be stalwarts of peace because of some of our ideals, and Rotarians should be sharing the information. In recent times, we have had one person from Jamaica in quite a few years actually that received the certificate program, and she's actually getting ready to finish her program in Thailand. Actually, she finished her program in Thailand last month, where she spent 5 weeks. So the certificate program which she participated in was 15 months. Where she was able to do, and she's from Jamaica actually, she was able to do work within her province in Jamaica. And she also linked with the Rotary Club that endorsed her application to talk about peace, not just talking about peace, but also working with organizations, not just Rotary, but working with other organizations to promote peace in her province within the area of Jamaica. She received her scholarship in 2001 and was able to complete last month. So it's super exciting.
I can hear persons who now becoming very curious and probably thinking that, oh yes, I should try to get onto this. What qualifies a person to apply? Okay,
so Rotarians cannot apply because that I believe that is to keep the organization transparent, because I'm sure some persons that are or not or are not Rotarians are familiar with the Rotary Foundation. The foundation is where we give a lot of our funds to. We also, you might be familiar, well, you're a Rotarian, but persons within the community might be familiar with Paul Harris or a Paul Harris Fellow. So a lot of the funds that we give goes to the Paul Harris Fellow or the foundation, which was started by Paul Harris. So it's almost like double dipping. So we're giving the money into the foundation and then we're taking back exactly. Yeah. So Rotarians are not eligible. However, Rotaractors are. Adults that are working within the area of peace and conflict resolution, and a number of persons within our community might say, well, I'm not in the area of peace and conflict resolution. It doesn't have to have that direct name. Persons that are within the health services are working toward peace. They are working toward peace. We have the police, law enforcement is working toward peace. So there are a number of other organizations that are out there that are directly or indirectly working toward peace. So community, anyone from the community, and they actually don't need to be a young person that's college age. The person that just received their award is actually a retired superintendent of police for over 40 years. So she's a very seasoned adult, and she just decided that this is work that she wanted to do in her retirement.
And so how does this, if a person to be successful from the Virgin Islands and they apply, they go through whatever training, they acquire their certifications and all the full works of it.
Yes.
How can they now make this a career coming back home? Because most persons will know, okay, yes, I'll be very active in, doing speech assignments and talking to schools and what, but how do I make this a career?
Okay, that's an excellent question. So I must, and I should have actually started with this, that any applicant should have at least a bachelor's degree before they apply. So they already have a foundation, or should have a foundation in the work that they are doing. They should have some level of experience in wanting to go off and furthering their studies within the area. So let's say, for example, there's a person that has a bachelor's degree and they're really wanting to enroll in that master's degree program, which lasts for 2 years. They should have some form of a degree that's linked to conflict resolution. As I mentioned before, it could be in health services, it could be in law enforcement, it could even be the legal profession.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they should already have a degree within not conflict resolution, but a
profession area.
Exactly, that is somehow linked, because one of the criteria is that they should have some form of prior experience. They should of course be English speaking, because all the universities will be teaching in English. And a number of things are covered within the award. You have the tuition, room and board, your trip to and from the university. There's also a contingency fund. There's insurance that's paid for. So the candidate, once they're successful, they are taken care of.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This ties into, I happened to learn about this attending your club's meeting just recently, and so we're having this conversation. And the topic that you were talking about was peace and conflict resolution prevention. February is that month where,
yes,
in the Rotary environment, we focus on that particular topic.
Yes.
And so you had that lecture, well, that discussion,
yes,
I should talk about. Tell us a little bit about peace and conflict resolution from the context in which you would have shared. It was very, very different. You know, we hear about, so many times we talk about what's happening in our society. We see this type of violence. We see this level of conflict happening, and it's not being dealt with in what we would want to call the appropriate way. But you put this out in the perspective of our 4-way test.
Yes.
Of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? And you know the rest of it.
Of course, of course. Okay, so the context that I used at the Sunrise Club last week is that as stalwarts, Rotarians should be stalwarts of peace. And I believe that everyone should be peaceful. We should try to be as peaceful as we can possibly be. And sometimes it's difficult. So I said, as Rotarians, we have this Rotary wheel, and I wasn't going to reinvent the wheel. And, you know, I'm going to put a little spin to it, a different spin to it, and then I'll get into the 4-way test. The Rotary wheel was, it's the emblem for Rotary. And the Rotary wheel did not start the way that we know it to be, which is on my shirt, just a simple wheel. There was the Montague Bear, which was actually attached to it. There was dust on the wheel. There were spokes coming out of the wheel. So it looked similar, but it had some additional emblems to it. And those emblems were significant. But over the years, the wheel evolved to look like this. They took out a few things, and the wheel evolved to look like this. Now, I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. I believe that our forefathers created a wonderful foundation for us, and we should be building on that foundation of which we're doing. So within that meeting that I spoke, I said, you know, essentially we've got everything that we need within that 4-way test. Now the 4-way test, as you started, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And each one of those sentences within the 4-way test speaks to something. Is it the truth? Are we telling the truth in everything that we're saying? Are we? And the question that I asked after each line was, what would you do as a Rotarian? Are you telling the truth? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Are you being held accountable? Are you being accountable for the things that you're doing? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Are we being, what is our fellowship like with one another? Are we being kind? Are we being true to one another? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? And that speaks to empathy. Are we really empathetic in our daily living? So I believe that, excuse me, the Rotary four-way test, it wasn't started by Rotary, it was started by a Rotarian. His name was Herbert Taylor. And then Rotary adopted it. Rotary adopted it eventually, but it did not initially start as the Rotary four-way test. Exactly. But I believe, getting back to that four-way test, it starts from within. We have to look inwardly in order to ensure that the things that we're doing as we live, we're trying to promote peace. And you are in the perfect profession in terms of being an advocate for peace, not speaking of Rotary, but your profession, even as the public, when we blog, are we being peaceful? Are we trying to stir up things? And one of the things I did say, are we trying to sweeten the pot? And why? Because there are so many people that are involved when you sweeten the pot. You have families, you have friends, you have persons that become hurt when we do and say things that we shouldn't be saying. So I believe that peace should be practiced in our thoughts, our words, and our deeds. And the Peace Fellowship Program will speak to that for applicants that are interested from the Virgin Islands and not everywhere else within the district.
So we look for, having heard that, we really look forward to seeing your hands being filled with applications very soon.
Hope so.
That application process, give us how it goes.
Okay, so the applications are actually now available this month, because of course you mentioned that this month is the Peace and Conflict Resolution Month, so they are now available at Rotary.org. In the Peace section, there's a section for just peace, so that's Rotary.org. So the applications are now available. Persons can apply, but then they also need to contact me because there needs to be a district endorsement. Okay. They should align themselves with a Rotary Club. We have 4. And they should try to align themselves with at least one so that they're able to do work through that Rotary Club and Rotary as a family, because we are a small community. After it's looked at, it's endorsed by myself and the district governor for 7020. They're sent to Rotary International. The applications are sent to Rotary International. The committee at Rotary International makes a decision, and during Foundation Month, which is in November, the recipients of the award are announced.
Okay, so what's the deadline for application to qualify this year? Okay,
so my deadline is May, because the endorsement has to take place by the 30th of June for the new Rotary year, which starts on the 1st of July. So my deadline is May, because there is a bit of paperwork that has to take place, and I just want to make sure that if there's any type of coaching that is required in terms of tidying up the application and the essay, because there is an essay component, that it's done in good time and good order.
While it's not applicable for Rotarians and it is for Rotaractors, what about Friends of Rotary?
Yes.
They can apply.
Yes, as long as you're not a Rotarian. Yes, Friends of Rotarians, we're a small community, are eligible for this scholarship.
And other service organizations.
Of course, absolutely.
Awesome! This is great information. We see what is happening in our territory, and the incidents are escalating. And it's one too many. Even if you want to compare it to 5 years back and say it's not as bad, it's still one too many, and
Exactly.
we need to have a more comfortable environment for everyone to live and develop. So I'm happy to know that, this is just the benefits of visiting other clubs.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
this is information that we all should have as Rotarians.
Yes.
You never know everything, and I'm so happy that we can now put this out there to the public, that someone or some persons can apply and be successful in this area.
Yes.
Dr. Allison, anything else you want to say directly to the audience in this moment that you have the opportunity?
Absolutely. In being stewards of peace within the Virgin Islands, I'm encouraging you to encourage a friend that is willing and able to apply for this scholarship to do so. You can send your applications or your requests to Allison, ALLISON FLAX ARCHER 2011 @gmail.com. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking time out to share with us. And I want to thank you for joining us on this edition of The Big Story.
We know that where you choose to bank matters, and it is your vote on what your funds do in strengthening our community. As your official Bank of Paradise, we invest and support the lifeblood of our economy by helping in the realization of personal goals for homeownership, education, and entrepreneurial visions, which support small businesses. We make it our place to connect with persons and worthy causes, and we have been doing so for more than 30 years. Where your money goes and what your dollars empower are your choice. And we thank you for choosing us, a bank that gives where it matters the most, for you, for our community, and a happier tomorrow. The National Bank of the Virgin Islands.
Everyone looks to the future, but no one truly knows what the future holds.
The number of people under the age of 20 with type 2 diabetes could increase by 49% by 2050. Let it be known that we all have a 30% chance of developing hypertension.
Globally, more than 300 million people of all ages suffer from depression.
More than 60,000 young adults aged 20 to 39 are diagnosed with cancer each year. Obesity leads to problems such as stroke, heart disease, and kidney failure.
No matter your race, age, or color, we are all at risk.
These diseases can be managed or prevented if caught early.
But with the right medicine and the right doctors to keep us on a path to live a robust and healthy life,
we will live well.
There are many ways to enjoy life, like so many ways to count on Popular.
Plug into Digicel Plus and get even more entertainment with Disney Plus included. The best of Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and National Geographic all in one place. Whenever you want, plug into Plus to enjoy Disney Plus and much more with a home fiber bundle. Sign up today. Digicel Plus.